In terms of, uh, is there in terms of an international standard for sustainability, and in terms of the work you're doing at La Trobe, uh, are we on the sort of road? A lot of talk about roadmaps here at COP17. Are we on the road to seeing an international standard for sustainability?
Well, let's focus on first, as an educational institution. The universities around the world have endeavoured to focus on a standard. It's often prescribed by the giving of awards. In the UK in 2004, a Green Gowns Award was created so that they could assess on a comparative exercise universities around the world. It moved to Australia in 2010, and La Trobe University got the first award of the Green Gown, which basically analyses objectivity, the standard of whether that university meets the various criteria that are required to be truly able to use that term. Now that brings you back to the core question. It has been an enormous concern of practitioners in the wider environmental field that every Tom, Dick and Harry grabs the phrase of sustainability and says, well, I practice in that field and I have credentials in that field. And that has worried environmental institutes in recent time, professional institutes, because you have to have a standard. So we are seeing a growth of environmental auditing of the profession, certification. There's been an environmental certification scheme in the UK for about 15 years. There has been in Australia for the last 5 years, often under an independent professional institute. In the case of Australia, it's the Environment Institute of Australia and New Zealand. And that requires the practitioner, the qualified person, to adhere to an ethical standard. They have to be tested as whether they actually know what the principle is. They have to be asked that question, what sustainability is, put on the spot, and they have to adhere to professional competency standards, which has embedded in an honesty. And if you're going to say something, assess something in terms of sustainability, you're not just saying it for hot air purposes. You're saying it because you've assessed it in accordance with standards which are referable and objectively assessed. So we're getting there. We're not entirely there. We're certainly not there across the globe. Not many universities yet subject them to the independent analysis of the Green Gown assessment. Not many professional institutes around the world yet go through a professional certification ethical standard process, but we are getting there. And I think if you look at a COP17 such as we're here, and we see about 400 exhibition booths and about 200 of them have got people basically saying, look, come and trust us. Well, our view, our assessment of what's happening in the environment is worthy of being taken into account, then I think we do need some standards. And the tertiary institutions around the world have got that responsibility. So La Trobe University is very much pursuing that in all that it does, setting itself as an exemplar of how you manage their campuses, how they manage their study, how they manage their research. And we hope that other universities will follow suit.
And I guess finally, what sort of professions are you expecting your students to be heading out, and what sort of roles would you be expecting them to play in the future?
Well, the sort of profession that the university wants to put out in this field of social and environmental sustainability is not just tied to the core streams of science. What we want to see is that whatever core discipline you graduate in, you have actually had regard to these principles of environmental responsibility. We'll call them sustainability, we'll call them social and environmental sustainability, but if you're an economist, a scientist, someone with a Bachelor of Arts, an engineer, a lawyer, any of these people that emerge ought to be able to understand that wonderful benefit they have of graduating with a degree requires them to be socially responsible, understand what the principles of sustainability are, and actually go out there and practice in accordance with a competency and an ethical standard that's required. That's what we hope.